Hey folks, what's up? This is Adam here, I Can't See the Guy. Welcome here to another movie review, right here on the Movie Vault. And today's movie review is going to be on a movie which, in my opinion, they just don't make movies like this anymore. Sadly, they don't. I'm talking about the 1993 movie, Free Willy. Like I just said, it came out in the year of 1993. Just got done watching it moments ago, everybody. I'm sure this was 1993. Yes, 1993. In fact, its official release date was July 16th of 1993 in the US. Now, the first time when I watched this movie, my mother introduced me to it. And God bless her soul, she's no longer with us. But she took me to see Free Willy at the cinema when it first came out. And I loved the movie. I just got done watching it moments ago when it was like going back in time into my childhood, watching it as like I was when I was a kid, you know. But just don't make family movies like this anymore. Other movies you can mention, like this movie, like Beethoven, Andre the Seal, Monkey Trouble, Dustin Checks In, you know. They make all these movies with animals and they just don't do it like that anymore. Nowadays it's all CGI, live action movies, you know, like remakes of Disney and things like that. Which some of them are okay, but come on, it's just, we all know it's just not the same, you know. But Free Willy from 1993, I'd put that movie above any of today's live action Disney remakes, like The Lion King or anything like that. So I'm sorry, I just would. It's just my general honest opinion. Okay, like I said, I just got done watching this movie moments ago and had a blast. It was like being young again. It was like being a little kid again. You know, about this little boy by the name of Jesse befriends a whale, an orca, a killer whale, you know, and forming a chemistry of love together, a bonding, you know, and I'm going to cut to what happens bit by bit throughout the movie. Basically, the film opens up with these kids stealing food, stealing cake, whatever. One of them is Jesse, and believe it or not, one of the kids that was in the group was Danielle Harris from Halloween 4 and 5. And I didn't know that. I just looked at that little girl's face and I was like, that face looks kind of familiar. And then when I looked it up online, she was actually Danielle Harris, you know, who played Jamie from Halloween 4 and 5. She was one of the orphan kids. In fact, this movie took me surprised by when I looked at some of the actors that starred in this. I mean, we've got Michael Madsen, who plays Glenn, you know, Jesse's foster father, and he starred in lots of films that I'm a big fan of, like Reservoir Dogs and Species. Well, this was before Species, and Michael Madsen was usually used to playing the bad guys, you know, the villains. Where in this movie, he got the opportunity to play a good guy for a change. We get Michael Ironside, who I firmly remember for being Starship Troopers and Karate Kid 4, you know. And Danielle Harris, like I already mentioned, who starred in Halloween 4 and 5. So, good cast in this movie. But like I said, these kids are stealing cake, they're stealing food, they're all in foster families, but they all run away from home. And they're doing all kinds of mischief on the streets, like spraying graffiti at this adventure park, you know. Now, Jesse the kid, a lot of people done the kid over, you know, in the audience, you know, saying that he was a brat, a little asshole, and all that kind of thing. But think about it, this kid, you don't know what he's going through. You know, he's been abandoned by his mother, he's been shifted to one foster family to the next, he's living on the street, he's trying to survive. He's carrying so much anger and depression inside of him, where occasionally he gets angry and gives out bursts of answering back towards adults and things like that. So think about it, you know, you're a kid, you know, you've been through so much, you're bound to act depressed, you're bound to act angry. So kudos to the actor who plays the kid Jesse in this movie. You know, he also played Jesse in Free Willy 2 and Free Willy 3, which I've also seen. Not a particular fan of those movies. I know they did a Free Willy 4, which I've not seen, but I've been told to avoid that movie. And there's also a Free Willy cartoon as well, which they made back in the day, which I also haven't seen. So, This movie did fairly well at the box office, so they spawned all these sequels, but I've not had a chance to see any of them. Okay. So basically, him and his buddy, Perry, spraying graffiti at this adventure park where Willy is. He runs away from the cops, gets arrested, and Dwight, who's taking care of him, says, we'll make a deal with you, we'll keep you out of juvenile hall if you stay with this foster family and clean up the mess that you made at the adventure park. Of course, the force is reluctant, but eventually he agrees to do it. He gets introduced to this new family, who he doesn't take a shine to straight away. He's very ill-mannered. You can tell by his table manners at the table. And he's very angry. He wants to be with his mother, but his mother abandoned him, you know. And while he's at his adventure park, he sees Willy, this orca, this killer whale. And bit by bit, he forms a chemistry with him, you know, because he's fascinated by him, you know. And we later learn that the greedy park owner, who's played by Michael Ironside, is frustrated with Willy because he's not making him enough money. And due to him not making him enough money, he wants to build Willy a bigger tank. And he's very frustrated because the park is not making enough money like he'd like to. He can't get Willy to perform. And that's because Willy is homesick, you know, his family is out in the sea. Willy's trapped in this adventure park, you know, he's depressed. And once in a while he makes these strange, awkward noises, you know, because he's missing his mother. Like a, you know, like a awkward noise. You know, Jesse notices this, and straight away they form a bonding because my only guess is because they both know what it's like to be away from your mother. And I know what it's like to be away from my mother because my mother died when I was 19 years of age. So I know what it's like to be away from your mother. You know, it's a very depressing, hard time, and you never get over it. Your life's never the same again when you lose a mother. And Jesse knows this because he's away from his mother, and Willy knows this because he's away from his mother. So they have a lot in common with each other, and they form like a bond ship. I mean, there's a time where Jesse's planning on running away from home. He falls in the tank. He slips. Willy saves his life. And then Randolph, who works at the adventure park, tells me a little story about Willy, how he looks into people's souls, and he forms like a bonding friendship with them. And he believes that Jesse is that person who Willy has befriended, you know. And throughout the middle of the movie, it's Jesse training Willy, you know, training him, you know, because he wants Willy to have a bigger tank, basically. So, bit by bit from the movie, when they're forming this bond ship, he's able to pet Willy, stroke him, stroke his tongue, and teach him tricks one by one. You know, because there's a big show coming up, and Jesse's putting his heart and soul into all the training with Willy so he can get him to perform at this big day. But the big day ends up being a disaster because of all these fucking bratty kids. You know, they're banging on the glass, they're distracting Willy. But at the same time, Willy's very homesick, he's very low, and he doesn't perform up to the act, and the show ends up being a total disaster. This makes Jesse even more depressed, even more angry, and he disowns Willy, basically. He's planning on running away again. But while all this is happening, Michael Ironside's character is planning on killing Willy, so he can claim off the insurance. And he's making a hole in Willy's tank, which Willy made a hole in the tank earlier on, but the men made the tank even more, twice as worse, so that Willy would die without water, basically. Jesse catches them all in the act. He informs Randolph about it, and the vet, Ray, you know, who's a lady who works at the adventure park. And they all agree to take Willy into the ocean and free him, you know, before he dies out of water. While they're finding out about all this, Michael Ironside's character is formed this pact to go after Willy because he's desperate to kill Willy in order so he can claim the insurance for the park because he's worth $1 million, basically. So the last half of the film, you got like this bond ship about trying to take Willy into the ocean. Along the way, the trees stuck in the road, you know, broken down gate, you know, and they're on one big mission to free Willy, and they successfully do. and the ending scene, which has to be the touching scene where Willy jumps over the bay and goes into the ocean and he's completely free. And the credits roll after that with Willy being reunited with his mother and the rest of his siblings. Now, like I say, everything works for me in this movie. The story, the cute story about the bondship of Jesse and the whale, the orca Willy. The choice of actors, Danielle Harris, Michael Manson and Michael Ironside. I love the music in this movie, especially the ending music, which was played by Michael Jackson. I'll be there. In fact, I downloaded that music off iTunes and I put it on my jukebox downstairs in my living room. I love listening to that song by Michael Jackson. I'll be there. It's one of my favourite songs from Michael Jackson. So to have Michael Jackson sing a song in one of the most childhood hero movies that I grew up watching is icing on the cake. So I've got no complaints about this movie. My complaints about movies usually don't appear until the sequels. I've got loads of complaints in like part 2 and part 3. But this is the movie that really stands out, the Free Willy movie. I know everyone gave the kid a lot of crap because I thought he was a brat, but I can understand where he's coming from, being abandoned by his mother, suffering from depression, suffering from anger issues, running away from home and all that kind of thing. So when you put yourself in the kid's position, you can really understand where he's actually coming from. Like I said, this movie came out in 1993. This was before Species, and Michael Manson, who I just mentioned, he was like so used to playing the villain in so many different movies. He was supposedly got a good leading role. He played a good guy in Species also, which stars Natasha Henstridge with the nice, gorgeous tits, basically. I fell in love with that woman the first time I saw that movie. Okay. People take the mick out of this movie just because of the title Free Willy. Like, what you got in your pants, basically. So, a lot of people make fun of the title of this movie, but there we have it. The orca who played Willy is no longer with us either. The orca whale, he passed away. What was his name? Kiko, I believe, which stands for Japanese for lucky one. He died when he got released into the wilderness, into the wild, and then he ended up being washed up on a beach and he died from pneumonia, from what I believe. And I really wish the actor who played Jesse in this movie appeared in a lot more movies. I know he appeared, in a lot more movies. He was in The Never-Ending Story Part 3, from what I believe. But other than that, I don't really recognise him in any of the movies, which is a shame because I thought he was a good little actor. It'd be nice to see him in more memorable roles. The kid who played Jesse in this movie. In fact, I can tell you right now who he plays. Jason James Richer, the 12-year-old orphan. Yeah, the film is made, like I just mentioned, Never-Ending Story Part 3, Return of Fantasia. He starred in all three Willy movies, apart from Part 4. And the rest of the films I'm not really familiar with. But from what I believe, he's still acting. He's got a film called The Final Heist, taking place in 2024, which was last year. But in 2023, he made Natty Knox, and in 2023, he made Nothing to See Here. What other things can I say about Free Willy that hasn't been mentioned already? Directed by Simon Winker. That rings a bell. Simon Winker. He's also directed some other films that I've liked. I liked him in The Lightning Jack, The Phantom, The Young Black Stallion, which came out in the year of 2003. So he's directed some movies that I've liked. Produced by Jenny Law Tugend, Lawrence Shaw O'Donnell. Yeah. And the film runs at a pace of 112 minutes, so it's just like over an hour and a half, which is not a bad film. And one thing I can also say about this movie is that it didn't really seem too goofy, too childish. It really felt fitting for a family movie. You know what I mean? I mean, it wasn't too silly, it wasn't too childish. No actors were annoying or anything like that. It was a very heartfelt, warmed family movie. And like I say, they don't make them like this anymore. You know, and which is such a pity. I'm just glad I'm one of those guys that grew up in my childhood throughout the 90s. You know, if I had my way, I was growing up. I wish I grew up much earlier than that. You know, through the 80s, you know, when Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, you know, were all coming about and things like that. You know, so I was born at the wrong time. You know, I'm old school when it comes to these movies. But Free really is a childhood favourite. Like I said, my mother introduced me to it. Just got done watching it moments ago. I had a blast listening to the music, Michael Jackson's song, and it was a fun little heartwarming family film to watch. So please check it out, everybody. It's a classic, Free Willy, made in 1993, and that's all I've got to say. Please leave your comments below and email me if you've got any questions. Thanks, everyone. That's my review. Have a nice day. Bye.